And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Thursday, January 23rd. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Chris Spags. We're brought to you by the Bink promo because all we do is create Millie winners. And you could be a Millie winner as well if you use that promo code. Sign up for a Stokastic package. We got 8 games ahead of us for today. We already have one in the books. Shout out to Wemby in Paris. And for anybody that cares, the Miami-Milwaukee game, I believe, was set to start at 7:30. It is now starting at 8:30 because of Milwaukee's travel leaving New Orleans. Now, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's up, Spags?
I'm excited to be here with you as always. Should be a fun show. I think we had some fun debate yesterday. We were catching up on the great toast on debate, and I'll take the Sklansky Bucks on that one. If a guy goes 2 for 15, gets a few rebounds, few assists, I think that's like scoring 30 points. Is how I'm going to approach that. Usage is basically points, Josh, just like air yards or yards in football.
I'm going to assume you had him projected for 16 shot attempts or whatever the hell he had. That felt slightly more than you would have normally expected. He did make them in the rate, I thought, which was 0 for 5 from 3 and made 2 of all of the rest of his shots from the paint. Brutal, dude. Awful.
It wasn't fun. Like, I watched that entire game because whenever I have a good amount of money on things, I'm like, I just want to see how this goes. And like he drove the lane. He played kind of pseudo point guard a little bit. The issue is like the day that he should have had, like Jalen Wilson had, who like made his shots and got to the rim and did things. But like he shot fadeaways from mid range. He was out there. He was balling. He was balling like any of us would try to ball in an NBA game. Unfortunately, with similar amounts of success.
Yeah, he was absolutely balling. There's no disagreement there. Was he balling well? Your mileage may vary. It's a fun slate. We had a lot of really awful, like, unknowns when I started the shows this morning. Gary Harris officially ruled out for today. Shocking. John Isaac available to play. 8 of the 16 teams today were on a back-to-back. It was just a disaster. Now we have most of the information we're looking for, and I think we're ready to break it all down. You want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, here we go, folks. Game number 1. And to be fair, this one still pretty awful. The Portland Trail Blazers are 8.5-point underdogs in Orlando, 212 total. Maybe that line moves a bit with Gary Harris out. Just kidding, everybody. There is absolutely no ownership coming into the Portland Trail Blazers at this moment because DeAndre Ayton is questionable. Toumani Camara is questionable. Chris Murray is questionable. Anthony Simons is questionable. Donovan Clingan already out. Obviously, we're going to get this news. It's the only 7 o'clock game, so we're going to have some sort of idea what's going on here for Portland. I really don't have much to say here. It really just depends who's in. Every single one of those main guys, Simons, Kamara, and Ayton, if they're out, they directly move another guy into like mild relevance, whether it's Simons for Sharp, whether it's Kamara for Avdia, whether it's Ayton for Time Lord. There's just nothing we can do with it right now.
Yeah, same page with you. I think for as it is, like I would say DeAndre Ayton, if everybody is in as expected right now at the minutes, he looks like an okay play, but even then, 2% owned by the field. I got 1% in my top 150. But if you get guys out here, the value's gonna move around quite a bit because there's more possessions to go around. Each guy kind of wields a fair amount of usage or some assists or some rebounds. So definitely some important configurations, and Ayton's still questionable, right? So if he's out, like certainly some big ramifications, but Time Lord, I presume, still can't play enough minutes to meaningfully matter a ton on the slate, I would guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we did see him play pretty sizable minutes in a game a while back. I mean, maybe not a while back, but far enough back. Let's pull that up just to make sure.
There's been injuries and illnesses in between.
He's 3,200 and has power forward eligibility. Yeah, it's been quite a while. Yeah, back in November, he had a couple like mid-20s games. He got 20 on the 18th. I mean, 20 minutes of Time Lord today with power forward eligibility at 3,200 is going to be a pretty damn good play.
Yeah, look, I agree. I just like we've done this before with him in these spots. I think there was an Aiton game where he was out, power forward center. I remember we talked about this, and it's like, the minutes seem secure. He's played more minutes, and now we've had enough games where he's not playing minutes and he's been in and out of the lineup a little bit. And there's still the trade rumors floating around with him. Where like I'm a little bit worried about trusting him minutes wise, but I'm sure I would take shots at it. But if you get your value early on, the Time Lord, and he does play like 18 minutes, even though there's no reason for him to not play more, it is going to be a very tilting part of the night, I would think.
Yeah. So do you, I mean, I guess this is just really, we're going to leave this for live before lock because without knowing who's playing, it's really not going to get us anywhere. And it's not a great matchup either. Giant pace down spot for Portland, lowest total on the slate, second slowest game. I hope that all four of those guys end up in, and we could just ignore the Portland Trailblazers. Orlando is not all that different, although we did just get a chunk of their news with Gary Harris being ruled out, Isaac in, Goga still out. But we're waiting on news for Cole Anthony, who's questionable. We're waiting on Jet Howard, who's questionable. And we're waiting on Franz Wagner, who is questionable. Did go through shoot around, I believe, trying to work his way back in. We're not going to be playing Franz Wagner. He's likely going to be limited the same way Paolo was when he came back. Only guy getting any love here is Paolo Banchero, 20% owned on both sites. I would be totally fine with having him at 8,400, but I don't think he's any sort of like overwhelming priority. I do think he looks pretty good though.
Yeah, I think Banchero looks really strong. I got him 30% so far, which a little bit tough, I think, to give away that ownership practically when I do make lineups because it's given up a roster spot that could matter a little bit with a lot of the Q tags we have floating around out there. But I think he looks like a well projected play, especially if you're willing to kind of absorb that early locking game risk with him. But he's been playing well enough. Minutes are up today. Stokastic has him projected to play 32 minutes, which seems in the right range with how he's been slightly upticking a little bit. So yeah, Banchero I think is good. Franz being back in obviously knocks him down a little bit more to compare where he would have been in another spot. But still, with Franz playing likely limited minutes, Banchero, I think, is your one play you want to get to here. Everybody else, it feels like Wagner being back in just knocks everybody down a little bit more for the amount of time he's going to be out there.
The real question I have for you is what in the world do we do if Cole Anthony is out? Does that become Trevelyan Queen? Does that become Anthony Black? Does it become both of those guys? How do we manage this if Cole Anthony happens to be out here?
I think it's Anthony Black for sure. I mean, it's not going to be as good of a situation with having Franz back in because you have somebody else that can be that lead offensive initiator slash guy bringing the ball up a good amount of the time. But I like Black. I mean, he's played pretty well in the year, only 0.8 fantasy points minute overall. Today I'd have him at 0.93 when you account for the matchup and what his rates generally are with some of the guys off the court. So Suggs in particular, obviously, who's still out. I like Anthony Black a lot. I played him obviously as super chalk the other day, as many people did. Ceiling wasn't crazy high with him putting up 30 fantasy points, but it does feel like there's always more you could do. An aggressive rebounder too. Very obvious large hair. That helps too. But I think he's a good play, and I think he'd be the one. Queen gets more minutes, but like Black becomes, I think, a legit play. If you do get Cole Anthony out.
Franz is available to play. Do you think you'll end up on anything else from the Magic?
No, I think only it'd be Black if you got Cole Anthony out.
Because he can't go back then?
Yeah, no, you can't go back. No, Black, Black, you got Grady Dick, you got all the things coming together. They were playing the other night, and it's like, I wonder if they like even said hi to each other. Like, remember we got in so much trouble over that one photo?
They should do it every game. Every game.
Yeah, why not? It's a good
Alrighty. Game number 2. Keep your eyes out for that Cole Anthony news, by the way, guys. That'll be a big one for Live Before Lock, along with the rest of Portland. Toronto Raptors, 5-point dogs in Atlanta, 237.5 total. I have this as the fastest game on today's slate, and it is the second highest total on today's slate. 20% ownership on DraftKings coming into Jalen Johnson. By the way, that's 50 on FanDuel. Trae Young's about 10 on both. Dyson Daniels is unowned on DraftKings and 20 on FanDuel. And then Onyeka Okongwu is 50% owned on the DraftKings side because Atlanta's a little shorthanded. No Clint Capella in this one, already without Zachary Risache. We're also getting a little bit of love to DeAndre Hunter. These guys are massively owned on FanDuel. Only Okongwu is massively owned on DraftKings. Let's start with him. 5,600, no Capella behind him.
I think Okongwu looks really strong here. I would actually give Okongwu a few more minutes than Stokastic is right now, where they have him at 28.5. And I certainly get being on the safer side of that projection, but it would impact how much exposure you get to him. Capella hasn't missed a ton of games, but going back to last year, whenever he has missed a game, there's a couple times where it was Okongwu starting, there's a couple times where it was Bruno Fernando starting. The center played at least 30 minutes in every single spot where Capella was out. And I think for Okongwu, guys have already been getting more minutes, pulling away from those Capella minutes for the most part. I think it's hard to imagine him not getting more minutes here, and they should be productive. A guy like Pirtle's going to keep him around the rim for the most part, able to get some rebounds, able to get some blocks, maybe some putbacks. So I like Okongwu a lot. I'm getting him in 45% of lines with the minutes being 28.5. But I could see getting to 60% more than that. There's good center plays in the slate, much like yesterday, so that's the one caveat. But I do think, like we talked about yesterday, I thought a couple guys were a tier above, and Mark Williams and Gafford being a couple of them. I think Okongwu is a tier above, where if I had him in a lot of lineups and it just worked out, I'd be really happy with it.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I wanted to hit on the Atlanta side first, but we're going to hit on Toronto as well. Just the Okongwu ownership really needed to be addressed right out of the gate with him being projected for half the ownership. Is he first in overall ownership, or is he second?
Let me see. I'll open. He is first.
He's first. He's first. I knew him and Omax were basically in the same spot, so doing that one again. So I have 65% of Okongwu. I went 29 minutes. I just think he looks fantastic here. They're going to try to play him as much as he can play. Like, I think 31, 32 minutes is certainly on the table. But he just looks like a really easy option to get to. Then we can sort of lump in all of these 20%ers across both teams. Scotty Barnes is 20%. RJ Barrett's 20%, Jakob Pertl's 20%, Grady Dick's 20%, Jalen Johnson is 20%. By the way, as I'm assuming no one's surprised, Emmanuel Quickly not playing for Toronto today. O'Shea Akbaji is questionable. How do you feel about all these 20% guys? Because I'm on some, and I am extra special not on some others.
I'm not getting as much as I would have thought, and I usually get Toronto a little bit more than I would expect because Barrett's rates I'm pretty generous with, and Barnes produces in every category, and usually like my projections like that and distribute some more stats to him, and accounting for certain pace-up matchups and high total spots like they're in today. Yeah, versus Atlanta. That said, I'm getting like no Scotty Barnes. I'm getting 4% Scotty Barnes, getting 12% Barrett, and I have Barrett well projected, but I think there's maybe different ways to spend the money with the salary that he's at. But I do like him as a play. I have him as a 5.2x value. Pirtle, I'm low on too. I have 7% compared to the field's 19. Grady Dick is the one that I'm with, getting 28%. I'm getting more Dick than the field, 28% compared to the field's 22. So like that's not where I want to be. Like I like Barnes. He does a little bit of everything. Barrett's been good enough some games. He certainly was a ghost the first half of last game. That went nuts in the second half to get things back to normal. But a ton of usage for those guys. Pirtle could certainly rip rebounds and be leverage against Okongwu to some extent. So I like the plays more than the ownership I got for them. I just didn't get there in the sim.
I have 0 Dick.
Oh, no surprises there. I guess the chat would say, if nothing else.
I also have not played any shares of Grady Dick today. I also don't have Jake Puddle either. I'm oddly light on these guys. They feel like they're taking in a little bit more ownership than they should. Now, the matchup I love. Pace up spot for Toronto is helpful. Defensively, Atlanta's probably going to look a little bit worse with not having a legit quality second center. Not that Jalen Johnson isn't a good defender, but you move him to the 5, it's going to be a little bit more spread out. Maybe the switching helps. It certainly helped them in situations where they wanted to do that when they played Boston earlier this year. RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, they're both in either 20 to 30% of my lineups. Those guys both stand out to me. I think the position helps a lot too. I mentioned Okongwu in a ton of my stuff. I don't have much Jalen Johnson, but I do have 20% of Trae Young once again, which did not go well for me yesterday. This is a really interesting game for exposure. I'm a bit under on Toronto, and I did not expect to be, but those 4 dudes all getting 20% feels like a hair higher than it should be. And I think that's what's showing me not getting as much Pirtle or Grady Dick here. And then for Okongwu, I think he's just too good of a play to ignore.
Yeah, I'm mostly agreeing on that. Like, I'm surprised I'm so low on Toronto. I am high on Jalen Johnson, too, though. I did get him 29% of my lineups compared to the field's 19. Do you think he absorbs some of that rebounding left behind? And again, you have no Nance out there either. Dominic Barlow, not a good rebounder, and he's only going to play 11 or so minutes based on the Stokastic minutes projection. So I think Jalen Johnson's a stronger player than Trae Young, as he is many days, overall this season. But I think the rebounding in particular would give him a lot more upside. And him playing 5, I agree, is like probably good for Pirtle, but it's good for Jalen Johnson too to rip a few more boards and have a little more opportunity, probably to rip boards and just take it up the court himself.
Yeah, I'm assuming he gets like half the backup center run. You get one of those like Barlow, Roddy idiots out there. Jalen Johnson gets some of it. I personally would want to play him as the backup 5 the whole run. Like, why would you? If I'm Atlanta, I think you have a much better chance of winning if you play Jalen Johnson as the straight backup to Onyeka Okongwu. What are you worried about? Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher? Like, Jalen Johnson can handle both of those matchups. I mean, he's basically the exact same size as Chris Boucher. Kelly Olynyk, obviously much bigger, but I think Jalen Johnson can get there with a little bit more athleticism than Kelly Olynyk is bringing to the table at this point. Do you have any off the beaten path dudes here?
No, I got 10% DeAndre Hunter, which is slightly more than the field. 4% Vic Krejci, which is above the field, but yeah, nothing too crazy. I actually got 8% of Bruce Brown, who I would highlight as a guy that he's playing like G League Bruce Brown off the bench. Like he knows he wants to get traded, like team wants to move him too, and he's just playing like recklessly. He's played D'Angelo Russell ball where he's like playing loose. So I think he could be worth a shot in that second unit there at a under 4K price tag, shooting guard, small forward. But yeah, it's a good matchup. It's just a lot of ownership for the big dogs, the big 3, quote unquote, on Toronto.
Big 4, I guess.
Yeah, big 4. I mean, Dick, I'm with though, so at least that that one I support. The other 3, I'm just not. I don't know how I would get there.
Amazing, amazing.
Can always find my way to some Dick though, Josh. I think we can...
Jordan, make sure you share that on the screen.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, good. Thank you for the Photoshop. What is it? Fucking the pigtails day too? Really? You just went above and beyond with the choice of photo.
I know you're working fast there, Jordan, but you got to crop that microphone and stuff out next time. Or at least make it something else. If you know what I'm picking up what I'm putting out there.
You put my face behind like Grady Dick's shoulder, maybe. That would kind of get the same effect.
Yeah. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next at 6 p.m. Those guys will break down all of the news that shows up from 6 to 7, including the very important Portland information and whatever ends up happening with Cole Anthony. Then at 7 o'clock, Greg and I will be live on playback from 7 until 8. So we'll have Portland, Orlando to watch for a little bit. We could potentially switch to Toronto and Atlanta at the halfway point. We'll talk ownership. We'll talk swaps. We'll talk bets. We'll talk whatever we can get to over that hour. We'll be watching the games. If you have League Pass, you can link your account, watch along with us. If you don't, we have 20 VIP passes so you guys can watch along. But worst case scenario, it's totally free. You can come hang out. Greg and I will be talking hoops. Dallas Mavericks. I didn't know what they were going to be today. They are 12.5-point underdogs in Oklahoma City. 222 total. Turns out Dallas went with not being good. No Luka, no Jaden Hardy, no Derek Lively, no Najee Marshall, no Dwight Powell, no Klay Thompson. A lot of no's. So 45% owned Omax Prosper. Come on down. We just did this. Close to 40% on Quentin Grimes. Close to 20 on Daniel Gafford. 5 to PJ Washington. Just 1% ownership to Kyrie Irving. Let's start with Omax. You going to get your O face tonight?
I got it yesterday. I'm getting it again today. I'm getting him in about half my lineups, slightly above the field. He is active out there. I mean, I was watching the game last night too, and they were talking about how bouncy he was out there. And, really watch all my shitty players that are DFS chalk every night. And Omax definitely, he's out there contributing as best he can. $3,200 price tag, not flat minimum like yesterday. I think he's worth the exposure. The guy I'm excited for you all to die on the hill with tonight, though, is Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes been a good per minute producer when Luka's off the court generally. He played 35 minutes yesterday. Stokastic has him for 33.7. He's going to be played by about a little bit more than a third of the field. I am still double that. I cannot get away from Quentin Grimes because he contributes a little bit of points, a little bit of rebounds, a little bit of assists. Yesterday, he just watched PJ Washington and Kyrie Irving get up every single shot for the seam. So be wary of that because he's super chalk. But he has had outlier days, has produced well at some bursts, in the third quarter particular games. I would hope that he can get there today. Klay Thompson, a big barrier for him. Jaden Hardy, big barrier for him. Even, Najee Marshall, a barrier for him to some extent. All those guys are gone. So if Grimes can be good, he should be good now. But welcome to my hell of playing Quentin Grimes.
Yeah, I have 40% right now. I only went 31 minutes at this point, but 4,900 shooting guard, small forward eligible. I will be right with the field. I really only see two good options from Dallas, and I use the term "good" very loosely for Omax because I don't think anybody was very happy with that yesterday. I got 50%. I'm doing the same thing. That could very well change if the Portland value changes. If Steph gets ruled out in Golden State, they're going to have a lot better point per dollar plays than we have right now. But we don't have an overwhelming amount of value, and unfortunately, if he's starting again, he's going to look kind of decent. He is running into an absolutely awful matchup, though. Don't think that he's going to be breaking down the OKC defense with any sort of real skill. However, I do think if this becomes an ass beating, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he's also playing blowout run, which could be beneficial for today. I got 20% of PJ Washington. I'm not totally sure why. It's not that he grades out all that well for me. You're looking for a little bit north of 40 fantasy points. If Dallas is in this game, I'm guessing he could have a little something to do with it. Did you get any Kyrie?
So no, I will say though, I was really impressed by Kyrie yesterday playing Minnesota. Like he went at them as hard as I've seen Kyrie go. In a game, like I said it on the stream before this, my splash play stream. I feel like that was like him back in Cleveland. Like was him kind of playing how he played versus Minnesota yesterday. So I could take the shot a little bit with him being 1% owned. Salary's up though. He's been a good producer with all the guys that are off the court in sort of a small sample size to average about 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I think you take the shot. It's tough though with the way the Thunder defend. Like you're going to probably trap Kyrie, make it hard on him, but Kyrie can beat that. The guy I'm most intrigued by is Daniel Gafford. Gafford played a lot of minutes yesterday, played well against Gobert, exerted himself really hard, was diving on the floor, taking a lot of contact against Gobert. I have not been impressed by the J. Will center experience so far. I just don't think that he's a tough and rugged guy in the way like a guy like Gafford can abuse. I think Gafford's another strong play again. Price tag is still coming up, 6,500 today. But Gafford, I'm getting in 3x the field of the amount of lineups they're getting there. It's 17%. So I'm getting 54. Big fan of that overall. I like Gafford a lot. He and Mark Williams, I mentioned yesterday, they hit. I'll do it again today because I think as long as Dallas doesn't get totally smoked, and even if they do, like Gafford probably gets a good amount of run and does well with it.
I don't have any Gafford right now. 3 games ago for Jalen Williams with a Y, played 31 minutes in his start, 31 and a half fantasy points, 12 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, and a block. I think he could run that one back. That was up against Gafford, who got a crisp 20 minutes in that one and played like dog shit. 5 fouls as well.
He remembers that. What, you think Daniel Gafford forgot? He's going to be back out there. He's going to be out there going hard.
He was not very good last time. Team Jalen Williams. I don't have any of Jalen Williams with a Y because he's 5,300 now. So it's not something I'm looking at. On the OKC side, we kind of have everybody except for Isaiah Joe. It's 15% ownership to Shea, 15% ownership to Dort. I've got 25 of Shea. I've got 33 of Dort. And I don't really have much of anything for the rest of Oklahoma City. You get into the Thunder at all?
I have basically the exact same amounts you had. I have 25% of SGA, which I'm okay with. He put up the 50 real life points yesterday, broke the slate. Does he do it 2 nights in a row? It's certainly possible, I think, that he and Kyrie going head to head is one outcome here that could happen. So I don't mind playing that a little bit if you can make it work. Lou Dort, I'm also getting 23% of, and I'm getting 7% case on Wallace compared to the field's 10. But happy with every SGA I get. He's clearly feeling it right now. Jalen Williams, maybe regressing a little bit here because of him being banged up / ill / whatever. At least yesterday, that kind of seemed like the case. Maybe it happens for one more day here and SGA bumps the usage up, even though, J-Dub's out there. He's playing, but he was clearly not himself yesterday for most of that game.
No, he was not, which was fine by me, but unfortunately pretty great for Shea setting his career scoring high when I had 4% of him. Yay. Really fun stuff. None of that news is relevant. Yeah, I don't have much else here of OKC. It's basically just get myself some Shea, get some Dort, and then have way too much of Prosper and Quentin Grimes, which is just really unfun. Really unfun.
When Grimes hits, though, man, it's a blast. When he goes for 25 real life points in a quarter, it's like, this is totally worth it. But I get Grimes on every slate when these guys are out, and it's It has been really bad a lot of times. I had him in almost every lineup yesterday, and he was one of the worst plays in the slate. It was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
You know what else
Speaking
he
of,
took me off of? He took me off of Jalen McDaniels.
oh, okay.
Oh, a
That's
double whammy there.
not great. He played pretty well
Yeah,
yesterday.
30-point flip between the two, I believe.
The Miami Heat are 6.5 point underdogs. Ooh, doesn't look like Anthony is going to be playing. Anthony Black is starting alongside KCP, Franz, Banchero, and Carter. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have official news on Cole Anthony yet, but he's not starting. Anthony Black is starting. I would imagine we're going to get Cole Anthony out, but don't play Cole Anthony. That much I can tell you guys. Anyway, Miami, 6.5 point dogs in Milwaukee, 226 total. Jimmy Butler not going to be playing today. He's suspended once again for the Miami Heat. Tyler Hero probable. It's really all the injury news that matters. We are getting 18% ownership to Jaime Jaquez, around 10 for Tyler Hero. And then your most owned play from Miami, 23% owned Kel'el Ware, 5,700 center only. No ownership to Bam, little bit to Jovic. What do you want to do here with Miami? Because I'm getting 20% of someone, but it's not anybody that I named. It's Tyler Hero.
Oh, interesting. So I'm getting 10% Tyler Hero. I like that for the matchup here. Certainly Hero, the price tag being under 9K again is great. 8,300, I think works pretty well. Producing about 1.13 fantasy points per minute. That's good enough for me on this slate to get some exposure. I don't think he's a go crazy kind of play, but they hang in there versus Milwaukee. I think it's probably because Tyler Hero had a good day and shot them into it for the most part. I'm going to Kel'el Ware again. The price tag is up a lot. He's 5,700 now and center only, but he and Gafford will be two center plays I play a lot. To the point that I think they're kind of pulling, at least were before, some of my Jokic ownership away. But I think for Ware, he's playing well enough as well, also averaging 1.13 fantasy points per minute, seemingly not getting hurt at all by playing with Bam. Though I would think if Bam has an outlier day, that probably would nerf Ware to some extent, because a lot of Ware's upsides coming in crazy rebounding numbers and also some of the stocks. Ware, I think a good play, but I'll get more than the field here. Field's at 22%. I'm getting about 35 right now. But it does feel tough based on like price sensitivity to chase him up that much. And curious your thoughts on Jaime Jaquez. So getting a lot of him. Stokastic has him for 30.5 minutes. I would have him as a result for 30.5 fantasy points on the nose. He played 28 last game with Butler in, so seems like he's back in the good graces, and I'm getting him 3x the field right now, just about. And it's a big stand, but the price tag's nice at 5K.
So Jaquez is kind of weird for me because I don't think he has props anywhere. So I'm having some trouble dialing in what I think he's going to play. I think it's going to depend a little bit on what this starting lineup ends up looking like. They could be potentially making changes. We didn't have, what was it, Hero last time out? We got Rozier starting. Is that right? Am I right there?
So.
That was the most recent game? Yeah, we didn't have Hero last time. So I assume that flip-flops at least a little bit. Let me see if we have any props for Jaquez anywhere else. Because right now I'm kind of flying blind on him. He's somebody that I don't have at all, but I could just be a little light. Yeah, I don't see any props anywhere on Jaquez. So I'm a little nervous on playing time for him right now. Something in that like 26 to 30 range makes a lot of sense, but I just don't know if it's the low end or the high end. I got 2x Hero, about half the field on Ware right now. Looks fine, but price is already starting to climb for him, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And I'm right on his number in terms of projection, so I'm not sweating that I don't have a ton. I just really don't like getting Miami all that frequently. They're rarely a team that I have a lot of unless they're missing more than one dude. And Butler being gone just doesn't really matter now. I think all these guys are already priced for it, outside of Ware, who will continue to climb if he continues to start.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Jaquez is a reasonable play when he's in that 5K range, which he's obviously flat at. But yeah, I think I agree. Like 30.5 minutes now, you talked about it, I think is a little bit of an aggressive minutes projection. And if he were, closer to 25, 26 minutes, I wouldn't get there as much. But certainly if he's starting, I'd expect him to play a lot of minutes. And anytime I see his minutes stabilize a little bit in the positive side, I'm willing to go to Jaquez's way because he does a little bit of everything. And those are guys I tend to gravitate towards for fantasy.
Yeah, if he's starting, I'll probably have him at like 28 minutes, and I would guess he'd be like a, right around the field type play for me. And then we got Milwaukee, who are basically unowned. No one has double-digit ownership. Giannis is at 9 on DraftKings, 8 on FanDuel. It's single digits across the board. AJ Green is out. Otherwise, we've got a full strength Milwaukee. You getting anybody here? Because the only guy that I got is Chris Middleton, and I don't even want that.
I was getting more Giannis before this most recent run because he's a play that you can
I'm
play
gonna
some of
pause you quickly because we
Yeah.
have interesting information.
Okay.
Anthony Simons will play. DeAndre Ayton is out.
Oh,
Time
all right.
Lord starting in place of DeAndre Ayton.
You gotta play him, right? You gotta
Yeah,
play him a
I mean, the
lot.
fact that he has power forward eligibility makes it very, very easy to play him and not worry about it.
Yeah, and
So,
starting too, it's hard to imagine him getting 20 minutes in that spot as well. So, yeah, I think that Time Lord now one of the better plays in the slate, and I will hopefully he will get to mid 20s minutes. Will be my guess. For Milwaukee though, low on Giannis now. His power forward center eligibility also important for me. That said, I'm only at 9%. Thought I'd get more because I was getting a lot of the Gafford Ware pairing at center, taking up those spots, and that made a guy like Giannis be more appealing as opposed to Jokic, who's obviously only center. But Giannis to me, 10% owned, feels a little bit light. Match versus Miami is not that bad. But, the projection's not fantastic either at 11-7. So I get why he wouldn't be a priority play for the field, but I do think he's a nice tournament option. Bobby Portis as a semi-value at 5,100 is coming up a little bit as well for me. 10%, fields at 9 and change. So that's that. But nothing looks that good here. And I guess one general thought about this, I would be mindful of this game a little bit with swappability and everything, because this might lock at 7:30, right? Like I don't know that DraftKings will program it to be correct and not lock.
that's a good question. It's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. I'm looking at it now to see if they've fixed it or not. They've already moved it to 8:30.
Okay, so I mean, because you never know if they're programming. It would worry me that something would still be in there and they would lock it early.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, then don't worry about it, I guess.
At least in terms of like the game selector at the top, it's now at 8:30. And just out of curiosity, I'm gonna export the salary file and make sure that it's updated there too.
Yeah, that would probably be a big tell.
It is updated to 8:30 in this
Okay,
salary
good.
CSV as well. So I wouldn't sweat that, but that's a really good note. It could have definitely been a situation where this locks before you ever think it does, and everybody loses their mind, and we all have a free roll.
That I was already imagining the scenario in my head of angry X posts,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's how it goes.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have anything else here for Miami or Milwaukee.
Yep, same pitch.
Guys, the promo code is BINK. It gets you 20% off any single sport package at Stokastic. Since you're watching this, I'll assume for right now it's NBA. If you sign up using that promo code, you get projections, ownership, our contest generator, our single lineup simulator, our huge simulation package, our post contest sims, premium Discord, and more. Articles, advanced stats, whatever you're looking for, we've got it. And you can get in for 20% off because it's a celebration, everybody. Another Millie winner with a Stokastic avatar, at least 4 so far this season. Just, we're making millionaires left and right. Maybe you want to get in here and become your own millionaire. You might have to play an NFL contest for that. I don't know how many NBA millies we're going to be having anytime soon, but on the NFL side, you've probably got a few left. We've still got a couple games to go. Go Skins, by the way. If you guys want to get behind the paywall at Stokastic, it's very simple. Click the link in chat, the link in the description. Use the promo code BINK, 20% off any single sport package. It expires on Sunday. So get in now or wait until we get another Millie winner this weekend and see what kind of promo we run. Sacramento Kings, 8.5-point dogs in Denver, 240 total. Kings are at full strength. They're not missing anything. This is the full stop Kings team right now. 20% ownership coming into Malik Monk, 10 to De'Aaron Fox, less than 10 for Murray, DeRozan, Sabonis. Do you like anything specific here for Sacramento?
Getting De'Aaron Fox a lot, actually getting 25% De'Aaron Fox. I just have liked the price tag throughout. Obviously, DeRozan had the big outlier day the other day. That doesn't matter narratively or anything really for me, but maybe ping Pogs back a little bit Fox's way would be my hope. And I just like the price tag for him with how he's played. So getting him at 25% compared to the field's 10. Malik Monk, I was getting a lot of before. The 7K price tag feels light for a guy with about a 35-minute projection. That said, getting him in 16% of my lineups right now compared to the field's 19. So not a big stand there. Value moving around will probably make him, I think, come down a little bit. But
Yeah.
I like Monk's price tag, so I'll just highlight him as he's probably worth more ownership than I'm giving him. And I got 5% Keegan Murray, which I don't know. That's how that makes me feel.
I had 15% of Monk. I have no idea why. I would rather have Fox, so I'd prefer your exposures. I got one random Trey Lyles lineup for reasons that don't make a ton of sense to me. I got two random Keegan Murray lineups here, but I don't love this. Pace down spot for Sacramento, heading into elevation. This strikes me as a spot where Sacramento runs out of gas late. I'm okay not having a ton of it. Max Homa withdrew from the Farmers, if anybody cares on the golf side.
Or somebody out there. I'm sure Eric Lindquist is negatively affected by this
Yes.
somewhere in the world.
Denver side. Oh, I love it. 15% ownership to Jokic, 25 to Jamal Murray, 10 to Porter, 10 to Brown, 20 to Westbrook. It always feels good when your most exposed player on a team is the best per minute player on the planet. Give me Nikola Jokic. He's in 33% of my stuff, 12,200. About to give Domantas Sabonis the business. What do you want to do with Jokic?
Yeah, I'm getting more now. I think what happened is in the most recent projection update, Stokastic knocked Giannis' minutes down a little bit. Jokic's either stayed flat or went up a little bit. But I'm getting more Jokic now, so I'm happy with that, getting 20% compared to the field's 13. I always want to be up on Jokic, even though I do like other center plays, similar amounts. I'm low on Jamal Murray. Field's going to be there in about a quarter of their lineups. I get he's had some good days lately. You've seen him go over 50 fantasy points, I believe, 2 out of the last 5 games. But the down is still pretty down, and he's still only averaging 1.02 fantasy points per minute. I got in half the amount of lineups of the field, actually a little bit less than that, 10% for me, and I'm really okay with it. Still like Westbrook. Westbrook triple doubles are an option still. Seems like it's a little bit harder for him to close reliably every single game now, but I got him in 21% of my lineups as well. And Michael Porter, not bad either. Fields playing him about 11%. I'm getting him at 13. Even Christian Brown coming up a little. I think it's a nice matchup here going against Sacramento, with the total being as high as it is.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic on Westbrook, although I am under the field on his exposure, but he hasn't closed in the past 5 games. It's because they keep beating the shit out of everybody. Like nobody closed in this most recent game. Strother closed with Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson, Zeke Naji, and PJ Hall. Jokic never saw the floor. Porter Jr. never saw the floor. Christian Brown never saw the floor. They've just been kicking the shit out of everybody. So I still think that he's going to be playing, 27, 28 minutes in any sort of competitive matchup. But eventually, Aaron Gordon will usurp him. I have a little bit of Peyton Watson, which I think will go away at some point in time. I'm with you, though. I'm very light on Jamal Murray. That 25% ownership feels a tad high for this spot. But, he has been playing well. If you want a box score watch, Murray's a decent name to click. I won't put it this way. I'd like Jamal Murray to keep playing well because it's the only chance Denver has to be good is if Jamal Murray can be the Jamal Murray that, I don't know, he thinks he is, I guess.
It also seems like Westbrook directly pull, like whenever Westbrook has a real nuts game, Murray seems to kind of recede even more. So I think if you're going to try to get leverage on that Murray ownership, which I'm really baffled it's that high, to be honest. I know he's had a couple good games, but it's not like every game for 5 in a row. I think Westbrook's pretty decent leverage against him with his ownership being somehow somewhat lower.
I agree with you. I have more of Westbrook than I do of Murray. Anything else for Denver?
No, interesting team. It seems like a really nice total here for both the team and the game. So getting pieces from this game feels like a pretty good part of the slate.
The Chicago Bulls are 1.5 point dogs in Golden State, 228 total. It's a relatively fast matchup. We do have some problems with this one that are incredibly important and we need answers to. For example, Ayo Dosunmu is questionable. Kobe White is questionable. And then for Golden State, Steph Curry is questionable. Trace Jackson Davis is questionable. Lindy Waters is questionable. They're already without Kuminga, Draymond, and Kyle Anderson. A lot of moving parts right now. Lonzo Ball is the highest owned guy for Chicago at 10%. Everybody else is below that. But if Kobe White happens to be out, I think these guys are going to look a little bit better. If Dosunmu is also out, these guys are going to look a lot better. Are you making any plans for Chicago? Because this is a 10 o'clock start. Are you trying to get a bunch of these guys with the hope that somebody gets ruled out?
So isn't Kobe White a doubtful tag? Because I thought there was a report that came out saying he was very unlikely to play today from Billy Donovan.
I mean, that might have been what Billy Donovan said. He is questionable on the injury report.
Okay, so he's out of the projection set right now. So he wasn't in earlier, so I'm not really sure. My lean would be that he doesn't play today. With him
Sure.
being out of the projection set, I'm getting Lonzo Ball about 15%. Not a great projection on him. I think the Robert Williams starting is going to really move around the value for the slate. But Lonzo is an okay play. If you got Sumu out, I think with Kobe White out, that's when Lonzo really gets a little bit interesting here for maybe a showcase for a trade kind of game for as many minutes as he can play. The rest of the guys here, I like the rates for everybody. When you have Kobe White off the court, like Giddey's a little bit better. Vucevic gets to around 1.3. But these guys didn't come up for me at all. It seems like they're not for the field either. So I think they're pretty good tournament plays. But for me, they're not priorities besides, getting Lonzo 15% that I'm not even sure is going to hold.
Yeah, I have 15% of Levine right now, about 15% of Vooch, 10% of Lonzo. My assumption is that Kobe White doesn't play, Dosunmu plays, and these guys all look like relatively unappealing. It's a pretty slow matchup against Golden State for the Bulls, and I think that's kind of hurting them. If Dosunmu ends up out there, though, then I think we start looking a little bit more at Levine, Vooch, Giddey. I think Patrick Williams at that point is probably getting enough minutes that we start clicking his name, and then you roll the dice on one of those random bench dorks like Julian Phillips, Horton Tucker, Dalen Terry, Matas Buzelis. I'm not going to have any confidence in who it is, but I'll end up with more Levine if they both end up out. And then we get to Golden State, who is equally as problematic. Not knowing if Steph is playing or not changes literally everything for Golden State. We're talking about removing a 30% usage guy, their main assist guy, and 30 something minutes. How are you going to play Golden State? What's your goal here heading into lock?
So Curry, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He hasn't played a back-to-back all year, right?
I do believe that he played them back in like early November.
But it's been a while at the
He
very
has
least.
not played the last like 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I would assume he doesn't play. It's odd that he'd be upgraded to the Q tag.
He
I'm
played one
not really.
November 22nd and 23rd. He has not played one since. It's the only one he played this year.
Yeah, that's odd. I don't know. Like my assumption, I know the projections assumption earlier was that Steph Curry wouldn't be playing today. If he's in, I got him at 8% in the most recent run here, so he'll be at least a play I want to get some exposure to from people, this uncertainty hanging over it. The issue is like him being out really materially affects things where Wiggins to me would be one of the chalkiest plays in the slate. Buddy Hield would be one of the chalkiest plays in the slate. Schroeder would be a much better play, even though I'm not really sold that he's like a play I must have. Moody would come in the mix more as a value. Like it really does affect everything. So
Yeah.
as the projection set is right now, I'm getting Steph Curry enough. I'll probably keep that as it is, and I guess try to pivot around with the games going at the same time. For the other guys, I'll probably try to still get some Wiggins and Hield in particular because I think they matter a lot, and just eat those lineups if they don't work out well. Wiggins still is okay either situation if Steph plays or not. Hield would not be a play at all if Steph plays. So I think you play a good amount of Wiggins and just know that if Steph's out, you get a much better player. And Hield, you're gonna have to maybe eat the lineup if you play him, and in hopes that Steph doesn't play.
Yeah, because I think, if Steph's out, I think Hield looks awesome. I think Schroeder looks awesome. I think Wiggins looks awesome. Like, this is a pretty decent pace up spot against Chicago. It's not a very good defense. On the off chance Dosunmu is out, it's an even worse defense. Like, you'd take away one of their better perimeter defenders. If Steph's in, the only guy I got was Trace Jackson Davis, and we need him to be in at 5,500. If Trace Jackson Davis happens to be out, how much Quentin Post do you want to get?
That's the question I know I'd have to answer here. I guess that's all they would have left at this point with Looney's minutes being out and all that. So, you have to have some out there because Chicago's got enough size. So I would think that he becomes another interesting play. And the tough part is like you're gonna have that Robert Williams ownership, and having him and Poston knowing that was gonna be a part of your lineup would really be an important thing to know. So yeah, I would think you'd instantly get a lot more. But obviously, that's actually a good question. I hadn't thought about that angle because he's not even on my sheet because of all the guys they still have in a lineup potentially.
He's been playing, man. He's been playing. He played the last two. If there's no Trace Jackson Davis, 15 minutes and 14 minutes, Quentin Post is going to be a name that we click on today if Trace Jackson Davis happens to be out, which is not anything that I think anybody wants in life. That's for sure. We got a super chat from Jeff Williams. Is it slower or faster pace with Curry, Green, and Kuminga most likely out? Well, Curry, I don't think is most likely out. Green and Kuminga definitely are out. Golden State is 99.4 possessions on the year. This game is at 98-1 thanks to Chicago. A little bit slower. A little slower. But yeah, I mean, the news is everything. We might have amazing value. We might have no value. I'm not particularly interested in 17% on Wiggins if Curry and Trace Jackson Davis are in, but he looks like the best option to me. It's a mess. I would want to try to earmark a decent chunk of ownership to this game just because of what could move around. Fun stuff.
Always.
Game 7, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers. I thought Boston was going to end up looking pretty ridiculous today. We kind of got lucky that they didn't run this into the ground. Celtics are 4.5-point favorites in Los Angeles, taking on the Lakers, 219 total. Everybody's in. We had no Al Horford yesterday. He's in. We had no Kristaps Porzingis yesterday. He's in. We had no Drew Holiday yesterday. He's in. They're all in. Do you want anybody, though? Because they don't exactly look good.
No, I really don't think these guys project terribly. Well, actually, no, that's not fair. Tatum projects okay. Jaylen Brown projects okay. These guys are all the standard issue 5x value that we talk about as being that historical DFS number you're trying to hit for NBA slates. But the ownership's not there a bunch. It's hard to get to these guys a little bit more because some of the values where they are, and then you have higher upside players other positions. So I am getting above the field on Tatum, getting 7% compared to the field's 4. I'm above the field on Jaylen Brown, getting 7% compared to the field's 4 there as well. But that's not really a stand. I think these guys are nice tournament plays. Lakers game should be competitive. Lakers not a good defense either, and they're going to hang in. I think based on the spread. So yeah, I don't mind these guys here. I think it's actually a pretty nice spot to get one tournament option and hope that they could spike an upside.
By the way, the line is up to 6.5 now. Hasn't stopped moving since that Boston news came in.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I have 20% of Drew right now for reasons that I don't know. 8% of Tatum, 8% of Brown. Hopefully that rest from Drew Holiday yesterday just got him right as rain. Come in, drop 35 fantasy points in 30 minutes and be well worth it. That's my hope. But I don't have anybody standing out here. If I'm getting anybody, Tatum and Brown would be who I would want. But I don't have much. Massive pace down spot. This is one of the slower matchups that could exist in the league. Boston and the Lakers are 23rd and 24th in pace overall. So I got both teams 3.5 possessions below their average in this one. 92.8 possessions for the game. It's the slowest game on the slate. So I don't have much of Boston, and I essentially don't have the Lakers. They are at full strength as well, or at least whatever you determine full strength to be for the Lakers. Jalen Hood, Schifino, Vanderbilt, and Wood all still out. 2% ownership to LeBron, 1% to AD, no ownership to anybody else. What do we do with the Lakers here?
I think for me, not play him. The price tag's tough for LeBron, though. I'm not getting any of him. I'm not getting any of AD in my top 150 lineups via the sim. Again, I think they're decent tournament plays, in particular AD at his price tag. I feel like it's palatable. LeBron, I think you're paying the price tag for that Wizards game the other day a little bit with him being 10-2. He just looks a little bit overpriced for where he would be normally. But AD, 4.9x value for me. I think he's good enough to give some shots to. Against the Celtics team, it's obviously good, but do they have a natural match for an Anthony Davis? I don't think they really do. They'll try really hard as a team to do something to stop him, but I think if he wants to go off here, he can. But yeah, really Lakers to me, not a priority. So I don't know. We need to save time, but I just don't have a lot for him.
I got 1 share of LeBron and 1 share of Rui. So yeah, these guys are really difficult to click on. Terrible pace. As difficult of a defensive matchup as you can get to. Not a very good offensive team to begin with. I mean, this is just brutal. Brutal for the Lakers. This game, I believe, has the least amount of ownership. Has to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
not even close. Lowest.
Not one person in double digits. So
no. It's Portland, Orlando is the only other one that's low, and that'll probably move around a little bit depending on how that new obviously Robert Williams is going from 0% owned to a lot more than that. So yeah, this is the game that gets you nothing. And then we have the final game. The Washington Wizards, 14-point dogs in LA, taking on the Clippers. Feels like the Lakers and the Clippers just play both in Los Angeles every day now, as opposed to earlier in the season when I felt like it never happened. 225 total here. Wizards are at full strength other than Brogdon. Everybody that's normally around is around. We're used to this rotation. And that is a team that has no ownership to speak of. 8% is the most on either site. Are you getting to any Wizards?
Getting a little bit of Bub Carrington, a little bit of Jordan Poole, about 5% for both guys. I guess 9% for Carrington, so a little bit more than that. Nothing else here is that great. Koulibaly, I have to say, played well the other night as a really low-owned tournament option for me in a lineup I really wanted to do well. Didn't get me all the way there, but I was proud of him for beating out Alex Sarr. He's still doing his thing well enough as a guy at that price range. Or if you need somebody to fit in at a mid 5K range, small forward, I think he does that job well enough. Kuzma, the games still feel really hit or miss for him, but it does feel like he's maybe getting a little bit closer with some of the recent performances he's had. But Poole, I think, is the best play here, and even then, he's not really a great play. So, yeah, not a priority. And a down pace spot against the Clippers with not a great team total for Washington either.
I got to 20% of Keyshawn George. That's how random everything is for Washington. I don't like it. I don't expect it to stick around. I don't think anybody looks good. I just, like, they're terrible. They're going up against a team that's really good defensively. If Zubas wasn't in, that would be a different story, but it's not like they're getting a good side of this matchup. These guys are just bad. They're really, really, really bad. And I would prefer to have a lot less of them than I do. But for right now, a couple shares of Kuz, a couple shares of Poole, and more Keyshawn George than I will have by the time I get to lock.
A lot of Keyshawn George. I think your Keyshawn George is going to very quickly become Robert Williams with the positionality there.
It's going to become anything else. This is just total randomness. So don't want to deal with it. Then the Clippers side, we went from thinking they might not have anybody, which was kind of how they had it yesterday. They had no Harden, Powell, Zoo, Leonard, Batum, Dunn. Today, slightly different story. Only Chris Dunn is missing for the Clippers. I guess technically Jordan Miller is as well, but that one's not as relevant. No ownership to Powell, no ownership to Harden, 15 to Zoo, no ownership to KPJ. Do you get anything here for the Clippers? I don't have any Zoo, but boy, oh boy, should he push Alex Sarr around.
Yeah, I got 12% Zubac in my top 150, and again, like Josh mentioned, you are doing the LA tour here. So these guys have been in LA over a certain period of time. And guys like Alex Sarr might like being out in LA if you want to give a little bit of narrative juice for that a little. But I'd say for Zubac, I think he's an okay play, but there's enough great center plays on the slate that not going to my way to get him. Harden, I think, looks okay when you have Kawhi in not playing the full allotment of minutes yet. I think he looks good. And frankly, Kawhi, I gave him his old rates going back to last season, but he has been down a little bit. Still playing under a 1 fantasy point per minute pace so far this season for himself. Expect that to get better at some point, but he's been low, and it wouldn't be surprising if he started to get a little bit less effective at this point with the amount of injury time he's had out. But yeah, I think Zoo's really the only play here. Powell doesn't look awful. Harden doesn't look awful, but you got good plays on the slate that I don't think these guys are some of.
I got 10% of Powell, 10% of Harden. For some reason, I got 10% of KPJ as well. I just assumed that his price wasn't 4,400 and it was like oddly low. But with no Chris Dunn, I assume he's just like a 15-minute part of the rotation guy today. I don't love him at 4,400. I have no idea why that showed up, but I would like it to go away, and it will likely go away as we deal with all the news that has come in.
You just want to box chase his big last game. You're like, he went for 50 yesterday. The situation, it must be the same. That's classic. It's at least classic some YouTube chats. Not our YouTube chat here, but some YouTube chats out there. You'll find people thinking that way.
Adios, Pelican Properties. You can go away forever. Cole Anthony ruled out officially. So we don't have to hypothesize whether or not we're playing him. We could just ignore him. You were never playing him coming off the bench, but now we're extra special not playing him. And it makes you feel a little bit better about Anthony Black's minutes because there is no backup Cole Anthony. Now it's Trevelyan Queen or Corey Joseph, unfortunately. And I saw somebody say something before. No, I already handled that one. Is Kawhi playing tonight? John C. Yes, Kawhi is playing tonight.
But don't play him, most likely.
There's a lot going on for this one. And the fact that there's now a late swap at 7:30, 8, 8:30, 9, 10, and before the 10:30 game. Constant late swaps. Highly recommended you're at your computer today after lock because stuff is going to pop up. I mean, we know it happens every day. Something we're not even expecting is going to pop up here. What was it? A couple days ago, Jokic wasn't on the injury report, and then he was suddenly out for a game. That kind of stuff is always going to happen. So be ready. Spags, tell the people where to find you.
You can find me on at Splash Play NBA every Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. before the stream. I dig through my projections, like the ownership. I'll give you my best takes here, some betting markets as well. And of course, it's a pleasure being with you guys today. So hope you have a good slate. And of course, good seeing you, Josh. I hope you have a great weekend, my friend.
You and me both, brother. I would like to have a good weekend. The wife's gone Saturday. She's got an awards banquet. So just me and the pups. And then Sunday, it's a big day in this household, baby. Skins are taking down the birds, and
We
it's going to be a big one.
we're rooting for the same thing. I'm Team Jane Daniels. I'm so Jane Daniels pilled. My fantasy points commented today. Took the 300 plus passing yards and not five plus CDs, 3+ CDs for Jaden because desperation. They can't have the Kingsbury governor on him anymore. He's got to be as good as he possibly can be. I'm excited. I think he's got a shot to win it. Spread doesn't support it, but he's got a shot.
Well, spread didn't support the win last week, and look
No.
where that got him. Fuck the Lions, right?
I agree. It's fun, honestly. Like you're the Commanders fans on Twitter. I feel like one of the more self-hating groups out there. I'm sure Browns fans worse. But like as somebody just rooting for the player and my money initially, and now rooting for the team, they've been like the best underdog story this league has had in a while. And to see a rookie win it all, like that's some mad video game stuff, which I support. Jaden's style of play too is just like exactly what you want.
I will never call them the Commanders. The name is garbage. I would have called them the Washington football team if they kept it because I enjoyed that, but they're the Skins forever. I'm grandfathered in, and I will have my beat up Heath Schuler jersey on for Sunday, and if it's not that one, it'll be my beat up Terry Allen jersey.
I have a
What do you?
Jaden jersey here that one of my best ball supporters on the Splashplay channel bought me because he won money for my Jaden Daniels take. So he's like, you got to buy yourself a Jaden jersey. So
There you
I'm
go.
ready to go. Yeah.
I do not have that. I will certainly not be buying a new Skins jersey unless they bring it all back. But Skins to the Super Bowl, break Travis Kelce's heart. That's what I'm looking for. To be fair, I on one of my original OddsShopper live shows, there was like a $25 free play on Super Bowl winner. So I still have that floating out in the balance for the Chiefs. So if they win, I at least get a couple bucks out of that one.
Oh, they're gonna say for the Commanders. I was like, because that would be really nice odds. I took Jaden Rookie of the Year, which
No,
is now gonna hit, but it wasn't.
I
I was
would
like,
never have taken the Commanders to win the Super Bowl. I would have thought they would be more likely to get the first pick.
I see. I was so Jaden pilled from the moment I started doing rookie stuff last year. So it's been fun seeing. If they win it all somehow, it would be like this would be a sports movie that the nation has slept on for basically the entire season.
I read some sort of ridiculous Twitter thread. I'm sure there's an article or something about his like use of VR,
Mhm.
which is really interesting to me. So
German flight technology company VR is what he had built, and like got him to be a much better player at LSU. And hey,
yeah,
go Commanders. Let's go Jaden.
go Skins is how you should say it. Live before lock coming up next.
Too woke, Josh. I gotta.
Build your bankroll with Portfolio EV from OddsShopper. Use the mass entry tool to enter hundreds of profitable bets a day with just a couple taps of the finger in the OddsShopper app. And have confidence in knowing the bets you're placing have been profitable long-term by analyzing the historical ROI on every bet from every market with the EV results tool. From there, just create your own custom portfolios, simply add the bet types you want to see each day, and watch the profits roll in. Subscribe today on the OddsShopper app or at OddsShopper.com.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. It's Thursday. You know what time it is. It's Eric Lindquist here. That is me. I'm Lindy. Hi, follow me at Eric Lindquist. And I'm joined, as always, on these lovely Thursdays by my friend at Fantasy Tips, Matt, over on X. His name's Matthew Belman. He's out there in the lovely state of Ohio, the national championship state of Ohio. Put some respect on the name, that's for sure. We're sponsored today, of course, by Stokastic. That is us. Promo code BANK above my head in the top right corner to get you 20% off any single sport. Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but any single sport you want. Golf just got underway. They're super soft because they just got done shutting it down here for a little bit because of wind. You know, it's okay to not cut the greens the night before, but you know what? That's beside the point here or there. We got ourselves PGA Sims. We got ourselves NBA Sims. We still have the NFL Sims going for another 2 weeks here. That being, of course, for Conference Championship weekend over the weekend and the Super Bowl. Would love to see you guys there. 20% off. First payment. Code BANK. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Always fun to do these Thursday night shows with you. Another crazy night in the NBA with news potentially seemingly all over the place. I know we had that day game earlier in Paris, so that was fun. Wemby really showed out. The Spurs look good. That was just a fun watch if you watched any of the game. So, yeah, another just crazy night tonight with news potentially lingering until the latest game.
Talked about it last night where I thought, oh, the opening number is going to be around 28.5. That's kind of where I was projecting him to open at books. He opened at, I said that the other way. 27.5 is where I thought he would open. I woke up this morning, he was at 28.5. I was like, you know what, I'll just pass on that and just bet the Spurs. That worked out nicely, but worked out really nicely for the people who took the Spurs and combined that in the premium Discord along with Wemby. Wish I had done such things. But hey, good to get on the board early. But man, speaking about early, we got this first game of the slate that just kind of, it just became a little bit uncomfortable because we've got a massive slate waiting in the wings here today. Every single game, all 8 of them going on today on the slate on DraftKings here and FanDuel. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We go all the way until 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You would think that would mean a lot of late swap throughout the entire night. And while it's still true, Portland became very, very difficult to get away with. One piece specifically, Robert Williams, with power forward center eligibility, we got word that he is going to start. We have DeAndre Ayton out, and I think this is just kind of where we need to start our program today, is this very first game. If you've watched our program for a long time, you know Greg, myself, anybody who I've basically been on shows with for years, we preach and talk about late swap all the time, but now we've got a guy in Robert Williams who I think is one of the more uncomfortable chalk plays I can remember in a while because he's a great fantasy performer. But he got up to 20 minutes on the 18th. I don't know what to make of that. Obviously, at 20 minutes, he's still a good play. He's got great swappability around your lineups with the power forward eligibility. But my God, Matt, I hate when there's a mega chalk piece in a game environment against Orlando that could play legitimately 18 minutes if things break that way. How do you feel about Robert Williams today as mega chalk?
I think you just got to play him. I'm a big Time Lord fan in general. He's starting. He's 3,200. The only, the matchup isn't great, and there is more minutes volatility than you'd like for a chalky piece, but he's way too cheap to be starting with power forward eligibility to boot. So I like him a lot. Again, I'm only playing one lineup tonight. I'm playing him for sure. There's no way I'm not playing him.
Yeah, I'm not going to play my normal 150 on Thursdays. I generally don't. I'm going to play 40 lineups today, just kind of the main stuff over on DK. And I took Klingon, Ayton off the floor. It doesn't surprise anybody that Robert Williams, 16.2% total rebound rate in 211 minutes. He leads the team in terms of total rebound rate. Denny Avdia, that's a piece that we'll get to as, from a tournament perspective, I think, where we've seen the rebound rate kind of jolt up, but that's going to be dependent on the Tamani Kamara news. The one piece we don't have here, I suppose Chris Murray questionable as well. And as you're removing guys from the equation, everybody kind of matters here. Eventually, we'll see minutes for Shaden Sharp have to boost up. We'll see some other configurations. But if Kamara ends up out, I'm pretty confident Denny gets that starting nod. With Jeremy Grant back, though, everything kind of, I'm not going to say that it's just wonky, but I do think that in a game environment against Orlando, there's nothing else that's going to be a priority, but that's kind of what I'm getting at here with Robert Williams. It's just, I feel much more uncomfortable about it than you do. I don't think you have to just play him. There's a minutes floor, I think, of like 16, 18. If he's actually on the trade block, he could play the first and third quarter first rotations, and then they can kind of do whatever they want against Orlando, especially when it's just Wendell Carter Jr. out there with any size on the other side.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to disagree with that. His projection is very strong for a $3,200 player, and I know he's got much higher upside than that. And you're right about the minutes potential. Like, there's volatility. There's also a chance he plays, like you said, he got to 20 minutes 2 games ago. Maybe he plays a little bit more. Again, he's starting tonight at center. So,
Yep.
there's a lot to be said there. Like, I feel like the late swap argument is always reasonable, but for me, it's more of a reason to not want to play everyone else on Portland than it is Williams himself, because I like a lot of late swaps if things break right, but I still think even if everything broke right, Williams at 3,200 would be a priority play for me no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny how DFS works, because I'm pretty sure I played Robert Williams at like 0.5% owned the other night. Where
Yeah, he was the nuke of the night like last week. Like,
Yeah.
I remember it.
I think
So
he put up
low
like
owned.
21 in 16 minutes or something against the Pellies, his first game back. And then it was against the Clippers. I think I nuked him potentially. He played 18 minutes in like a 30-point blowout, but I think he can get up to 22 minutes, and then you're just going to want him. So I'm with you there, but I just get a little bit uncomfortable against Orlando. Wendell Carter Jr., you look at his defensive numbers, they're surprisingly good over on dunks and threes, and somebody that, isn't exactly going to get there by way of like crazy points outings. Although my mind does always go back to that 19 ball he put down, the 45 points he put up against Minnesota in very limited minutes. Yeah, 25 minutes, not that limited. 25 minutes today at 3,200, you want 100% of Robert Williams, but
Yeah.
all right.
And like, I don't know. I get your hesitation, but I just think at that price, and I would feel a lot different if he didn't have the power forward eligibility.
Right. I would too. And I think most people would too, because center, there's an opportunity cost most days. There's definitely an opportunity cost on an 8-game slate. 9 total games today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed Paris, but I felt like that was a good diving off point into this slate from a DFS perspective. Let's go through a couple of the Q tags that we're going to be waiting on. Tamani Kamara and Chris Murray there in that first game. Then we have Toronto, Atlanta, the only game starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're waiting on Abaji. I think that actually matters for potential upside for a Grady Dick. I'm going to be paying attention to that. I don't think Jamal Sheed, this is probably not going to be a Jamal Sheed day, but everything is staggered by like half an hour. We got all of the news for the Dallas pieces. Klay Thompson out, Dwight Powell out, Najee Marshall out, Derek Lively out, Jaden Hardy out. I mean, God, Luka Doncic, of course, out. I mean, it's just been a stone cold disaster in terms of injuries there for them. We're waiting. Later on, though, the Golden State one is huge. Trace Jackson Davis, Stephen Curry, Lindy Wolters, all three of them questionable in the injury report, as well as Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. That entire game and the game environment, nearly a 230 total. No Draymond to help out defensively for Golden State, and potentially no centers. Like, that's just a wild, wild run out looking in that one. I think that kind of covers it from an injury perspective. You ready to dive into this one?
I am. I wanted to ask you one more question about Robert Williams while we were just talking about him.
Sure.
If he were only center eligible, how strong of a play do you think he would be? Because I don't think he'd be like out of play at all.
No, he would not be. He would be one of the highest owned plays still, but I don't think he'd be as interesting. And like FanDuel today, I think he's like 6% owned. So I apologize if you're playing FanDuel today. He's 4,700. That's a completely different play. I think the minutes floor is definitely being accounted for correctly there.
Agreed.
But today, if he didn't have power forward, I still think he'd be like 15, 20% owned minimum.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and that's where the minutes volatility would really have me thinking about getting off of him, just because there's so many other strong plays. But at power forward, I think that, even at that floor of minutes, he can still get there. But I digress. Let's move on.
Jordan Klein, what did Josh Engleman do on the last show to have Mateus Droz say, Josh is a douche, but has very solid info? What did Josh do on the last show?
Josh was just being himself, to be honest.
Josh was just being himself.
Shit.
Normal Josh. Okay, great to know. Great to know. It just feels like that's a lot of chat today. So a shout out him for being that way. Anyway, thanks to everybody who tuned in for the playback show yesterday. We really appreciate you all coming and kicking for the first hour there with Josh and with Greg Ehrenberg, myself. What just happened? Why did the volume go up? Jesus, Jordan Klein. Dude, turn it off. What are you doing?
That was good.
Anyway, let's start diving into some of the more popular plays that exist on the slate here. I'm going to feel like Josh here in a second. We got a Congo sitting there with 55% ownership. That's a spicy meatball, but you got Clint Capella out. That definitely makes some sense. We've got ourselves Olivier Maxence Prosper, 3,200. We did not prosper with him yesterday, that's for sure. And now they're taking on taking on Oklahoma City. I just was thinking like, oh, what's a team that's going to be really good for the foreseeable future? Oklahoma City, there you go. Well, we do have Najee Marshall out. Well, we do have Klay Thompson out yet again. Still feels like a pretty hefty number here. In my lineups right now, in my 40, I'm underweight to both him and Robert Williams at the moment. We'll see how it pans out. I'm a little bit under on a Congo. It just seems like I'm not as big of a chalk donkey as I was expecting here today. Quentin Grimes, I will be over on shooting guard, small forward. And then to round out the popular cheapies that we got going, Grady Dick, I have 0 of here at the moment. Who are some of the more popular plays that you're finding squeezing into your lineups?
Feel like, oh man, a Congo, no Capella. He's already starting. Nance is clearly out still. Like, it's on a lot of slates to be so hard to get away from him, but he looks really good from a projection standpoint. But
oh no. What's happening? Did we lose Matt? Is that just me? Matt is gone into the ether. All right. Well, he's sent to the Shadow Realm. It is okay. Oh, are you back? Oh. Yeah, we're losing Matt here for a second. I can't hear you right now. This is great. We got Jordan coming in, chiming in with like old clips. I'm assuming he was just trying to clip it and be a ridiculous human being. We got Matt Belman. His internet doesn't work in Ohio. There's not an Ohio joke to be made right now because they're very, very good at college football. But I got to throw this out there. I have a tough time playing like this mega chalk in Olivier Maxence Prosper this time around. Felt pretty good about it yesterday. And then also Robert Williams. But the thing that Greg brought up yesterday that I think is kind of applicable to today is just getting yourself access, getting yourself a little bit of late swappability into your lineups, because it definitely makes sense right now to just backload lineups to some extent and hope Golden State works out in your favor. I think it's like the big question mark of this entire slate that we have before us. I think we've got some really good game environments, whether it's Sacramento, Denver, where you just want to get involved in a 242.5 total. I think that you might want to get involved with a little bit of, the Lakers are back to full strength. Boston's at full strength here today. Nobody's on the injury report after yesterday's just near collapse against the G League Clippers. But I think the main thing that you have is that Chicago Golden State game environment, nearly a 230 total, and tons of injury news. Specifically, who the hell plays center against Vooch? Like, you want to get an early jump on Nuke of the Night? It's going to come from the Chicago side, and I won't make it Vooch just for the sake of, we'll have something else to talk about. But I think you definitely want to be involved with that.
Am I back?
Oh, you're back. Yes. Love having you back here. Hello,
yeah,
sir.
I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. We continue on our merry way. I saw that in the chat earlier. Don't mind me. I just want you to reiterate in your one lineup that you're playing tonight, who are the chalk pieces that you cannot go without?
So what I was starting to say was, man, on a lot of slates, I feel like it would be almost impossible to get away from Okongwu. Starting, no Capella, great matchup. The problem is there's so much center equity tonight, like so many good plays. I think that he's a guy, I think he looks great projection-wise, and I'll probably play him. Like, man, again, there's a lot of good plays on this slate, and I do think there's a lot of opportunity to wait on some lineup spots. Grady Dick is a guy, like I get the price point, but he's probably a guy I'm not going to play at that ownership. Khalil Ware is a guy that I probably won't be playing at that ownership. And it's nothing to do with like him himself. It's more just can only play so many guys in one lineup, you know?
That is correct. That is correct. But I just got a question in the premium Discord here as well. Always love to see that early on here in the program. Makes my life easy. It's Jay Hay. He asks, how much Okongwu you got? So we are going to let him know. I have 40% Okongwu right now in my lineups. How much do you have in your one lineup? Is he in it?
I don't know yet, but most likely yes.
Most likely. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll say like, again, between Ware, him, Jokic, and Gafford, you can only play two guys, so it's difficult. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. So we just covered, I think, some of the chalkier pieces. Let's talk about some expensive spend ups here on today's slate. Over on DraftKings.com, we've got ourselves a new ownership update. So I'm just going to let that go through here for a quick second. And we've got ourselves Jokic. We got not Wemby on this slate. We've got Giannis here. That game did get moved to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time in case anybody did not notice that over on DraftKings. Moved back an hour, so should be easier and more available to be able to figure out what to do with. We have ourselves SGA on a back-to-back. We have both AD and LeBron. We have Domantas Sabonis, who I appear to be a fan of tonight going up against Jokic. Didn't see that one coming. And then ourselves, I mean, you always have like the Jason Tatums, the Trae Youngs here as well, but 10K and up, is anybody falling into your lineup tonight?
Like just anyone 10K or up?
10K and up?
I'm not sure yet because Jokic would be the guy for sure. But I'm not sure I'm going to get there because I don't know if I want to go. There's a lot of good mid-tier plays on this slate. And oh yeah, the other chalk guy that I don't think I'm going to play is Prosper. Like I can't believe he's getting the ownership again tonight. I have a feeling in like the 888 he won't be highly owned. And maybe there's reason to go back to him because of that. He's 3,200. So like, again, even though he's not as good of a fantasy producer as Robert Williams, he's got good positionality and he's guaranteed for more minutes. So like I get it. He's a guy I don't want to play. I'll say that. 10K or above, Jokic would be the guy. What are you doing with Jokic tonight? I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, I'm going to play some Jokic, but I have like an obnoxious amount of Domantas Sabonis, and I don't know why, but I want to justify ripping someone's head off. So I'm going to play a little bit here. It would appear at 10K on the other side of it. If you get all of the value to break for Golden State, the timing of the news will be as important as the news itself. We have 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The amount of Jokic I will play in 40 lineups, or if I were playing a 150 set tonight, would be completely dependent upon Golden State having some pieces ruled out, potentially having Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu ruled out so that I can play a cheapie from Chicago. If I'm going to be bypassing Olivier Maxence Prosper at that Dallas OKC 8 p.m. Eastern time deal, it will probably be in order to get better value later. That's kind of the hope of it. And while Robert Williams, I think, is the better of the two guys that you're looking at in that price range, there is something to be said about the small forward, power forward eligibility for Maxence Prosper. So I'll let the Sims tool do its thing here to some extent. I'm very curious as we get ownership updated exactly the way things are going to come out in the wash. But the reason I'm talking about the expensive ones is just as the slate goes on, we haven't had a ton of these slates where it's been games throughout the entire night, nonstop, but Jokic is projected for nearly 65 fantasy points. Like, he's the best fantasy performer on planet Earth right now. He is the guy that you want to get to as a spend up if you can. I just find it a little bit more difficult, and it would appear that's why I'm falling on the SGA piece. That's why I'm falling on Domantas Sabonis and playing him. There's just some uncertainty that I have that I'm going to be able to get to as much Jokic as I want on this slate.
Yeah, I get that for sure. I mean, I know that this doesn't really matter, but what's your best guess on the goal on like Steph Curry playing? I personally don't think the Chicago guys play with the downgrades, but what do you think? And what do you think about the Golden State guys, specifically Curry?
Yeah, I think amongst the Golden State Chicago pieces, I think Chicago, just starting on that one, you're probably going to get Kobe White playing basketball, I think. It was an ankle injury, but They did have something where Casey Johnson said that he was not expected to play. So I guess I should probably lean more towards Kobe White being out than I currently have. And then, yeah, Io got the downgrade to questionable. Sick to say THT is probably going to end up being somebody who shows up a lot in my lineups. Did you watch that last game? He closed. He closed against the Clippers.
Yeah, pretty scary. Man, I'd rather play him than Prosper though. Like,
yeah,
I'm not down with OMP.
Yeah, you know me. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
okay.
even have
That
Kobe
was,
White in
I'm glad you
projections
got
right now.
that.
Oh, I would never not get that. I'm a
Okay.
part of the human race. Let's go to Golden State here then. With Kuminga, Draymond Green, Kyle Anderson out, Gui Santos, it is disturbing that he's somebody that you have to actually consider if we get news to break a certain way. You're pretty much considering every single guy, but I think what's uncomfortable is Pajemski's back today, and he's 3,600. I have no idea what kind of minutes we're going to get. I'm sure Steve Kerr just wants to give us great information leading into that game for sure, but Steph Curry, listed questionable. They need to win some basketball games, man. They're sliding fast and hard. They need to find ways to win games. I think he's probably pushing to playing. The number has moved. I got Chicago plus 3.5 yesterday. It's 1.5, 2, I think, mostly everywhere right now, from what I'm looking at. And I think if you get Steph out, I mean, there are no rules. You want to get to as much 4,800 Dennis Schroeder, you'd want to get to 100% of it. You'd want to get to a ton of whomever the starter is between Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, as disgusting as it is to say. He only played 13 minutes there against Sacramento, but there's not enough bodies there. And if you end up getting Quentin Post as an actual thing, I'm going to want to vomit, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not playing Quentin Post on this slate. I just, at the center only. I mean, maybe it's sneaky, but there's just a lot of good plays tonight. And yeah, I guess I'm with you. Like, I'm sure. And last night was a debacle for Golden State. They were rolling early and then just collapsed in the second half. So I'm kind of with you. I kind of think Curry plays.
Yeah, John C., I was just simply reading off the dealio where Kobe White, I saw that, again, I hadn't really had an opinion. I thought be closer to playing, but Casey Johnson of NBC Sports Chicago says that he is not going to play. I would think that that means that he's not going to play. So I amended my statement, which is what you should do when provided new information. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch. But we're going to continue here with the analysis as I work through some of the lower owned pieces that we can get some leverage in our lineups. I'd like to tell you, I would like you to tell me your favorite, and then we'll get to some super chats and some other questions in the Discord, who some of the contrarian pieces are that you're mixing into your lineup tonight. Who are you considering here for that one lineup?
So I think there's so many good plays that are getting ownership. You don't want to build lineups with like just contrarian pieces. I think in the NBA that's silly. I think you only need one or two guys. I've mentioned this in the past. And there's, again, a lot of good plays on this slate, so I don't want to get too far off the reservation. That said, a guy I like a lot that's not getting any ownership is Tyler Hero. No Jimmy Butler. His price has come down a little bit. Again, we know his upside is there in what should be a competitive game here. I like Hero a lot. He's got dual eligibility, point guard and shooting guard. Again, no Jimmy Butler. It's not like Butler was doing a ton, but you just take his body out. I think this offense as a whole just functions better. Butler's just a black hole right now. I think that anytime he's on the court, I'm trying to fade Miami just because, unless they have cheap guys. We've seen Duncan Robinson get there, but with him gone, I just think that they play better. And I like Hero a lot in that case, and he's not getting a lot of ownership at all.
What super chats got answered on the last show? Did any of them get answered there, Jordan Klein? It did. Okay, good. That was the one I wanted to check. We got Jeremiah Johnson, member for 2 months. Favorite value plays on FanDuel. Thanks for the info. You know what? You're so very well. And yeah, Snippy Zippy. I like that. Snippy Zippy. It's got a nice ring to it. I'm a guy for alliteration. It's shocking my show is called Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. I will say that. Favorite plays over on FanDuel. Not playing FanDuel today, but I mean, part of that is DraftKings kind of rolled out a very, very similar slate, identical slate where you can play every single game. So I don't have to add it to the portfolio, but it's always good to play multiple sites if you can. Been preaching that forever here as well. Let's talk point guard. Oh boy. Is this really going to be my point guard here today? I mean, Dennis Schroeder, I'm playing so much of him today, it hurts. Oh, I'll list them all off here. James Harden, that's another very popular piece there at point guard. At shooting guard, Jaime Jaquez, we'll get into the conversation without Jimmy Butler out on the floor for tonight because he doesn't like to go on team flights or, I don't know, play adequate basketball anymore. Small forward on FanDuel, Quentin Grimes. Power forward for me, Jalen Johnson at 8,200. I mean, the minutes for Jalen Johnson right from the go, man. Crazy high. Also, my buddy DK DFS over in the Tails section of OddsShopper, which you can find and be available to you for, I mean, he's definitely somebody you want to be tailing. I tail him every single day with all of his bets. He brought up the old Jalen Johnson potentially playing backup 5 here. I think that's very live to happen here for Atlanta because crazy workload right from the jump for Jalen Johnson. And to round it all out at center, I think you have a million different options on both sites. But Khalil Ware there at 6,100 on FanDuel is my favorite in the first run of Sims there. So hopefully that helps you out, Jeremiah Johnson. Let's jump back over here to DraftKings. I think talking through the center position might be a good way to maybe find people some contrarian options because we have some crazy good options here. We have a Okongwu in the mid-range, 5,600. We have Daniel Gafford and Jakob Poeltl at the mid-range, 6,500 and 6,200 respectively. We have Zubats at 7,200. And on the expensive end, of course, Domantas Sabonis, who I appear to be playing still, which I don't understand, and Jokic at 12,200, which, yeah, it's cost prohibitive right now, but there's a world where we get Golden State value and you can play whatever you want, whatever your heart's desires. And that game, locking at 9 p.m. Eastern time, definitely something to keep your eye on. How are you handling the center position today? Because it is loaded, Matt Belman. Did he lag out again? That's okay. All right. Well, I'm going to continue talking and working through some of this here. If we can bring somebody on, we can go back and forth. Jordan Klein, you know what to do. Do your thing. Do your dance. I'm going to pull up the premium Discord here one more time. Did Eric already do his nuke of the night? No, I did not. This is a perfect opportunity. Jordan Klein, smash that button. Never done a solo show before. This is kind of wild. We got 29 minutes, perfectly at the halfway point. I'm just trying to land the plane safely, but there's nothing safe about this play whatsoever. There is nothing assured about this play whatsoever, but my nuke of the night is by far Dennis Schroeder. He is the guy I have the most in my lineups right now. I have almost 100% of him. I think you have to just have that in the back of your mind. He only played 21 minutes yesterday against Sacramento. Now, it hasn't been a perfect one-for-one fit here, but Dennis Schroeder in Brooklyn was playing with the ball in his hand nonstop, and he's traditionally been a lot better basketball player than what we've seen in his brief time here at Golden State. Hell, whether it was Toronto or Brooklyn here in recent years, he's still performed very admirably. He's a good defender on the other side. There should be more minutes carved out for him here, and in a game Golden State is still favored, which is a little bit strange to me. I think there's still that chance Steph Curry can play, but then he's just a placeholder. You can potentially move him to some other pieces throughout that evening window. I'm not enthusiastic about playing Boston, LA, LAC pieces, but they're locking around the same time. And there are a lot of people who will not get to as much Dennis Schroeder as what they want in the event that they play some of the early value lineup spots like Olivier Maxence Prosper, Robert Williams. Now, those are different positions. Keep that in mind. But there is no doubt my favorite play of the entire slate, barring news, is Dennis Schroeder, your nuke of the night. All righty. Lindy time today? Yeah, it sure is. Please chat fade him. Yeah, go ahead and fade me. Don't do that. Come on, Eric. The classic misdirection to the public. What did I do? What did I do? Steph is playing dog. This is the worst day to play Dennis. We'll find out. Anyway, Kamara is starting here. Let's go over the starting lineup here for Portland. Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Tamani Kamara, Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams. I think that's exactly what we were expecting to be the starting lineup. It's a little bit of a bummer. I have a Denny Avdia over 7.5 rebounds ticket. That doesn't look nearly as good here at the moment. But I think the main thing that you have to make of note is Tamani Kamara. He's not a great fantasy performer. The prices have come up for like all of these guys. I mean, is there a single guy on Portland that you would even remotely entertain other than Robert Williams right now? I think the answer is very, very clearly no. So I'm going to keep that in mind. You should keep that in mind. I think on the Orlando side, just to cover this first game, do we have the playback show going on after this as well, Jordan Klein? Can't wait. Jordan Klein, the best producer in the game, named Jordan Klein. We'll have Greg Ehrenberg and Josh Engleman. If one of them wants to jump on, they are watching right now as well. It would be helpful to have them, to have somebody else here to chat with. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever, but I know that they'll be coming on at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Would love to see you there. People are saying Shaden Sharp. I definitely don't want to be going that direction. Hell to the non, Dennis Schroeder. Totally get it. I get that you wouldn't want to do it. It's Chicago on the other side. And Ayo Dosunmu, if he ends up off the floor, you're getting potentially the worst defenders in the entire universe. It also gives me another lineup spot to potentially move on to some more Zach LaVine, to move on to some more Josh Giddey, to move on to some LaMelo Ball, sorry, not LaMelo, Lonzo Ball, to move on to Talen Horton-Tucker, which inexplicably, the guy closed last game. I still can't figure that out. LOL, Eric's cry for help. I'm doing just fine. I'm just chatting, hanging out. You know what? I'm going to give everybody a second here. Let's hit refresh. I'm going to calm down. And we'll talk about promo code BANK. It's in the top right corner of the screen. I'm hanging out, just chilling with my buddy Jordan Klein, just like I always do. We need to do that in person here soon, my friend, that's for sure. But promo code BINK, B-I-N-K. Look at that. You might not think I'm good at DFS, but I can spell. If you can spell and put that into the discount code over at Stokastic right now, all the single game sport packages are 20% off. The offer will expire on Sunday, January 26th for the AFC and NFC title games, which I cannot wait for. The championship game weekend. We got a Millie Maker. I'm sure promo code BINK probably going to be active again over the course of those next 2 weeks because it just seems like we breed. We just spawn out these Millie Makers, these Millie Maker winners left and right here at Stokastic this season. It's been an awesome NFL year for all involved. Check it all out. Would love to see you guys here over at Stokastic. And then, jump on in that Discord. Water's warm. You're doing great, Lindy. You have to tease you a bit. That's fair. Nice work, Eric. Hate the nuke, but props for holding it down. You had me in the first half, not going to lie.
I appreciate it, man. I'm sorry about that. I don't know
what. Belman! There he is.
Yeah, I've been back. I wanted to let you continue on with your soliloquy before I just interrupted you. I apologize. I don't know what's happening. My wife is on the case, though, so she's trying to find out what is happening with the internet. It is not something that is on my computer or anything like that. I think it is happening across the area.
Oh, Ohio. You silly biscuits. It's
been so cold here this week that I'm not surprised stuff is a little bit messed up. I mean, feels like temperatures of -10.
You know what would solve that? Moving.
Yeah, I'm aware. I know. I consider that and think about it all the time. It's hard to leave where you've got family and stuff, though.
You're smooth as silk. Thanks, Ken Ratty, baby. Oh, yeah. Smooth as silk. About as smooth as a bag of sandpaper.
Give yourself
Hello, kids. Hello, fellow kids. All right, let's get ourselves into this slate once again for the people because we got a lot to cover still. I built out a 150 set. I'm going to be playing my top 40 here of it as I'm building out in the Sims. And I'm going to give it one more twirl here as we're moving along our merry way, get some updates in, having things. There's not a ton of news that just dropped, but we did get a new update. Appreciate everybody on the back half on the dev team keeping me afloat here on this program. But I want to talk about some contrarian options because I didn't get your answer before and you're building out that one lineup. Let's just kind of go game by game in these first two and see if there's anything that you are playing that's different. So Portland at Orlando. I think the one piece that I had a guess is in your lineup is Robert Williams.
Yeah, Robert Williams. That's it. Banchero looks interesting. Minutes starting to creep up, but not a priority for me. Only Robert Williams.
Toronto at Atlanta. This is a game I am very uncomfortable with how much I have.
Yeah, this game looks really good. Does it look better than some potential late spots, though? I don't know. So, as of right now, Okongwu is the only priority piece for me. But to say I don't have interest in Scotty Barnes, Jalen Johnson, Bruce Brown, would be a lie.
Yeah, everybody liked my last nuke of the night, Scotty Barnes. Put up a 50 spot in the winning lineup, no big deal. Scotty Barnes, low ownership. Somebody told me it was a difficult spot and he would never get there against Orlando. And then he put up 50 at 8,500 and beat Paolo Banchero straight up, which was Greg's lock, which is really all I cared about. I played both, but that's beside the point. That's beside the point. Let's talk the Dallas OKC game. Anything that you're finding as a contrarian option from that one, because we have a lot of ownership coming in on OMP. That is Olivier Maxence Prosper, if you're going to make me explain it like Greg did. And Quentin Grimes was shooting guard small forward. That is a priority for me right now.
Yeah, Daniel Gafford looks the best.
I love Daniel Gafford today.
He's just balling right now. You know, he's just a different dude with no gap, with no Lively out there. So he's a guy that's not getting nearly the ownership he should be. That's a reason why I think like you don't have to play a guy like a Kongwu today like you normally might. There's a lot of really good center options today, and he's one of them. Gafford, that is.
Should we call him Derek Unlively?
Don't hate it.
Miami, Milwaukee. This is kind of an interesting one. Again, going game by game, kind of an interesting way of doing this as we're building it out. But I know Matt's building out one lineup, and I just want to hear, because again, if you're going to use up the lineup spots, you're not going to have as much late swappability, for lack of a better word. And once you hit Sacramento, Denver, I feel as though your lineups have already told a story. And with the Robert Williams piece at 7 p.m. Eastern time, with the Olivier Maxence Prosper piece at 8 p.m. Eastern time, if you bypass those two, we're walking into Miami, Milwaukee, and there's one cheapie I really like in Khalil Ware, where I still think, you have a Kongwu locking in that Toronto-Atlanta game. I totally get him being a fantastic play. We just covered Gafford as well. And then Khalil Ware. Between those three, and then Jakob Poeltl at 6,200, you really got to find a way to get center in the mid-range, right? Right. Because you're going to probably be playing two of them in a lot of lineups.
Yeah, and then there's Jokic, obviously, if you can get
for sure.
Who's a different beast. But where Okongwu and Gafford, those three, and then you mentioned Jakob Poeltl, Zubac also. You got to get the center position right tonight. Whatever two you use, if you're not going to Jokic, because if you're using Jokic, you assume you're getting him right. I like Ware. I don't think he's as good of a play as he has been. Obviously, he was $1,500 cheaper with power forward eligibility, so he loses a lot of his appeal, but he still might be too cheap. He's been really productive. He's under 6K. This guy's had 40 plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. He's a strong play. Again, kind of like a Kongwu on a lot of slates, he'd be an absolute must. Tonight, he's not, just because we've got those other guys.
Jeff Williams, $1.99 super chat. Always love to see it, Jeff. Nuke of the night, Vooch. Thank me later. I ended up pivoting off of the Vooch nuke of the night. He's 8,200. We have so many centers to play. You still need to get that massive ceiling, but Vooch could also be playing basketball against like Quentin Post.
I like Vooch on paper.
Post could be guarding one Nikola Vucevic, because again, Kevon Looney, how many minutes are we going to get out of Looney? He played 9 against Sacramento. Of course, he'll just play like 40 today because that's how Kerr does things, right?
Yeah, nothing. Expect the unexpected with him.
Yeah. Jeff Williams, I do not hate the Vooch call whatsoever. Just center, man. It's loaded. 1-2. He gives us a $2 super chat, as he does always. Great job, Eric. I appreciate you. P.S. Jordan Klein smells bad. I can confirm Jordan Klein smells better than the average male. Jordan Klein is a divine Jordan Klein. He is such a manicurist. He takes care of himself better than just about anybody. Trust me. I've frequented many dinners where I'm like, no, it's not the delicious food. It is the aroma of Jordan Klein. Is that appropriate to say? I think so. He showers, is what I'm saying. He showers. I appreciate that about him. Portfolio EV is really cool, guys. You should check it out at the link below as well. We've got, 17 minutes left in the show. I'm going to get my updated lineups here as I'm talking through this. But Portfolio EV, my friend, Monday through Wednesday, and then Fridays as well. Greg Ehrenberg on the Live Before Lock program. Well, he does a great job of talking about Portfolio EV. He does an even better job of showing it. He proves it. He puts the work in, Devin. Don't give up, including ND_Joyce over on X, my buddy Nathan here at Stokastic. We got a ton of people over on OddsShopper, all of our crew making tons of money hand over fist. And then, yes, there are places you can still, with one book of access, whether that be Maine or Oregon for DraftKings, whether that's Florida for Hard Rock, whether that's Cali for Fliff and Rebet, you can still find your way to get some extra coin in your pocket utilizing Portfolio EV. And now there is a 7-day free trial for all new users. Head to the link below now. Stop the silliness. Put together a great portfolio day in, day out with the books that are available to you. Utilize the tools that are making 5, 6, 7x their money in the course of 2-3 months of NBA sample size that Nathan and Greg have proved day in, day out, tracking all of their bets over on X. That's what I love about Portfolio EV, is it is transparent. We love the transparency of the tool. We love the transparency that we're providing to you, showing the value for you over on X. So give them a follow at GAaronberg_DFS and Nate ND_Joyce over on X. Both of them doing an amazing job here at Stokastic and OddsShopper. Alrighty, back to the DFS. What do we got? Favorite layups tonight? Nuke with Schroeder. Yeah, no, I'm very aware. What do you think about my nuke of the night? Who's your nuke of the night, Matt?
Schroeder was your nuke of the night?
Sure was. I'm a sick person. I need help.
Can you tell me why? Because I missed that.
Because I want to, I'd prefer to not explain it again. Just, I don't want to show my work. Okay. Dennis Schroeder, you go through some of his rates in Brooklyn, and can we all agree Brooklyn sucks too? Like, Golden State would suck without Steph Curry. Like, we can kind of like all put that all together.
Sure.
Kind of lump them all together, right? That's fair?
Sure.
Okay. Over the course of this season, for Dennis Schroeder, he's only been a .766 points per minute guy, but a 21% usage. He shot the ball pretty poorly, 28.4% three-point percentage, but a 25.8% assist rate. I got to think he can go out and create and do all of the things. And, you know, what are they going to do? Roll out Pat Spencer for more minutes over him? What are they going to do? Put more minutes out there? Like, they need a ball handler. And yes, Pajemski's back, but I can't imagine Pajemski's just going to be playing 30 minutes right from the jump. So what do I do other than just roll out Dennis Schroeder, who they traded for? Last time you had Steph Curry out, he played 34 minutes against Detroit. I mean, I got to think Dennis Schroeder's the best play on the slate if he's out.
Yeah, if he's out, for sure. Kerr is so wonky with his minutes, though. It's really hard for me to trust him. What?
Man, I've never had this negative of a reaction to a sub 5K Dennis Schroeder with the assumption that Steph's out. And if Steph is in, there are ways that you can move that around.
Yeah,
we're gonna have
I'm not surprised that people are not buying Schroeder, just considering how he's looked, which makes me like him more, to be completely honest. So I'll give you that. For me, I'm going to go a little more traditional with my nuke of the night. Like, not a guy getting a ton of love, but certainly has played better than Schroeder. It's Zach LaVine. I like this game. I think that Kobe White doesn't play, and I think that Dosunmu is highly questionable. Maybe you give him a minute or two extra in a game environment that I think really suits him. He'll have the ball in his hands more. I like a bunch of Chicago, but he's my favorite piece. Maybe a little bit of an audition to go to Golden State here.
Wow. I mean, wouldn't Vooch want to go to Golden State too? What do they do?
Yeah, but I think
they fight over the ball, like, just every single time in the half court. Like, no, it's mine. No, it's mine.
Yeah.
Either one's going to pass. I'll put it that way. Ball will be in the air quick. Shout out Chicago. You're the GOATs. You're real ones. We appreciate you. But we got on the screen the Sims tool for the people, and Paolo Banchero, my God, look at that pool exposure. My God, we have so much Paolo Banchero. We should probably revisit that one, because I don't have that much Paolo Banchero in my lineups, but boy, do the Sims really like it. I'm getting my final mix in right now, but ooh, you said there were a lot of great mid-range options. I've thrown you to the expensive end. We talked through some contrarian ones. Is Paolo Banchero somebody on your radar? Because you did say you liked him earlier, but wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah, man, the Sims love him here. Even at 32 minutes, 31 and a half minutes, he's projecting for like 46 and a half fantasy points in this spot. Hard not to like him. You know, I don't want to use a roster spot, especially one that's this pricey, on a guy that I don't think is an absolute lock. So I don't think I'm going to play him right now. but he's in strong consideration. He's one of the first few out if I don't. He looks great here. Again, I still think that his upside's capped because he's not playing full run, but he's getting close, and it's a great matchup, and he's not priced fully either. So he looks very strong.
Wait, says Denny is starting. What are you? I didn't see that at all. That is not true. We have Tamani Kamara starting. Oh no, it's got Denny now. What happened to Denny? Did that come through while I was juggling a million different things? Yeah, Denny Avdia is starting. Okay, cool. That was a while ago. Yes,
They're
Denny
both
Avdia is starting now. No, yeah, we've got Simons, Kamara, Avdia, Grant, Williams. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's almost like my co-host disappeared into the
Wow.
ether in the middle of this show. That's
so no Scoot or Sharp has been coming off the bench, and now Scoot is too.
There we go. Yep. Scoot coming off the bench too. Scoot, mother truckers. Clint Eastwood, 83, $4.99 super chat. Love to see it. Besides Time Lord, are there any cash game plays from the first game? I mean, Paulo Banchero would be the only other one I would remotely think about, and I probably wouldn't do it because of how much late news is pending with the Chicago Golden State game.
I agree.
Don't use up the lineup spot until you have to. Don't use the lineup spot until you have to. Also, everything I was saying about being underweight to Williams and Maxence Prosper does not apply to cash. You're playing both of them in cash. I want to make that very, very explicitly clear. Thank you, News God, for clearing that up. Again, had it in the news channel. Again, I had no co-host. I was doing other things. We got ourselves. There was another super chat I saw. $2. He said, pause. Just pause. What did I do? What did I do? Oh, and then we've got News God himself. Love you, Eric. I love you too. Lotion play of the night. We should probably put the lotion on the skin. It goes on the skin.
Yeah, I don't even know how to interpret the lotion play of the night. How did we say it? What was that again?
Who is going to
put
the lotion on the skin? It's going to bowl in the basket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to go with this. I'm certainly familiar with lotion on the skin.
Makes me very uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Okay, I'm gonna take it as it makes me very uncomfortable. OMP.
Oh, okay.
I hate him, but the Sims, like in like higher dollar stuff that I've like kind of made like how I'm running my Sims right now. He's popping in like every single lineup.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that doesn't end up coming to fruition for me to some extent.
I'm also afraid of a blowout in that game with Gafford. How about you there?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. I don't like that because I think Gafford's got massive upside, but man, Dallas is decimated right now, and there's a lot of opportunity cost at center.
He's got to put the ball in the basket. That's really what it comes down to. There's not a lot that you can do. I mean, I just look at the center position. Can we pull up just the center position in the Sims, Jordan Klein? Can we just filter it by position? Because this is the position. This is not missionary, friends. No. This is like praying mantis or something. I don't know. I don't even know what that is, but it's provocative. We've got a Kongwu. We've got Ware. We've got Gafford. Ware was the piece that throughout the day, and then in this last run that is just popping up for me. I really like getting to Ware around 20%. Gafford, I'm still double the field on him at 24% of my top 150. Jakob Poeltl, right around that same amount. Zubats. Jokic is the guy who's really, you kind of have to boost him from the get-go here. And then if Trace Jackson Davis does play at 5,500, I think he's very, very interesting. He's also a great placeholder to have, just waiting in the wings for you. So there's some ways of dealing with the center position. I will say Okongwu is going to eat up a ton of people's ownership at the center position, and then you can get some more information. I like getting to a little bit more Ware. I'm about the same on Ware and in Okongwu, which is in that 40% range. I'm pretty comfortable with that, but I mean, look at how many options we've got here, my friend.
So many options. That does make me like Jokic. Like playing one lineup, it means I don't really have to decide on one of the guys. And then it's Jokic, and there's a lot of value on this slate. So
is this the day they don't have a competitive game? Because I mean, it just
feels
they
like do have a competitive game.
No, I'm saying that I'm hoping this is the day that they have a competitive game. Thank God, because it's just been I mean, look at Jokic's last few. They beat Philly by 35, beat Orlando by 13, beat Miami by 20, beat Dallas by 19, beat Dallas by 11, beat Brooklyn by 19, beat San Antonio by 11. They're rolling at the moment, but they've also played some real dog doo-doo spots. And yeah, it'd be nice to keep Jokic on the floor for the fourth quarter for once in our lives.
Yeah, I mean he's doing it in like one half anyways. But yeah, I think this spot should be competitive. Like I always like teams. It's clearly a bad spot going to Denver on a back-to-back. Like no one is going to argue that. But I think Sacramento's in a good spot to keep this competitive. One, they've been playing really good ball, and they're coming off a game last night where we talked about it earlier. They were getting destroyed at half. Really good second half from them. I expect them to kind of keep that up into the first half at the very least and keep this game semi-competitive. I hope.
I sure hope so too. We got what, 6 minutes left, and then we're going to turn it over to the playback show. That is going to be Greg Ehrenberg, Josh Engleman. Would love to have you guys all over there. Again, thank you to everybody who came and kicked it on the 2-hour streams. Who knows? Maybe somebody will make a guest appearance at halftime doing a DJ set. Wonder who that might be.
Are you going to tell us?
It's me. I might do that.
Cool.
It's fun. Anything that's interesting to you in your one lineup, which, again, I think I know what you're doing now at this point.
I really like the Bulls here. Like, I think they're in a good spot. I think it just gives you exposure to the obviously one of the last games. If you get Kobe White and Dosunmu out, like, give me Lonzo Ball, Giddey, Levine. I like Ball and Giddey a lot here.
I like Ball.
Presuming both those guys are out. Yeah,
I love Lamb.
If just Kobe White is out, like and Ball is starting, then I like Giddey at his price tag. The more guys are out, the more I'll like Giddey. But I like those three guys quite a bit: Levine, Ball, and Giddey. We'll see what happens with the Golden State side, but either way, I think Wiggins looks pretty good. Like
you think
with Curry
Wiggins
in, with Curry.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Wiggins is going to look real nice if you get all those other pieces out. I currently have 21%. That makes me happy in my top.
Even if those guys are in, I think he looks good is what I'm saying. Like he just is a strong play at forward eligibility at 6K and a pace up matchup. With Curry in, you get the benefit of, just better looks for him. So I don't know.
I 100% agree with you. I concur.
Sweet.
Ball. That's what we were getting at. Ball. Anything else that I missed super chat wise? Do we have all the super chats, Jordan Klein? We do. Besides Time Lord, got all of those. Good. Just wanted to double check because we've got 2.6 people who have watched me not meltdown, keep my cool, calm, composed self. That's the way my friends describe me. How calm and composed I always am on these streams. I brought my best, brought my A game for the people. If you appreciated it, hit that like button here. Anything else that people really need to know about late swap for today's slate, Matt? Because it is definitely one. If you get both of those pieces out, you brought up the Giddey piece. I really like that. Golden State. If Trace Jackson Davis and Steph Curry sit, can you even construct in your brain Steve Kerr's starting five? I can't. It's actually impossible.
Yeah, no. I mean, you could guess some guys that will definitely be in it, like Wiggins. Although at that point, man, anyone sitting, these late surprises wouldn't shock me either. So, yeah, no, I just think we'll have to wait and see on that. And that's another reason why I want exposure to the Bulls, because it just gives me outs.
Yep, gives you outs, gives you swapability, gives you all the things that we preach here every single Monday, Sunday through Saturday when you count in my guy Matt Belman and EMAC 2028. He's going to make a push. I feel it in my plums. We got ourselves EMAC. He's ready to rock.
One guy I wanted to ask you about that I've forgotten about. This is as cheap as he'll ever be. Now I get it. He's not playing big minutes right now. Aaron Gordon, 4,200 just seems crazy cheap for a guy that, again, when he's playing full minutes is regularly 6K plus. So any thoughts on him at all? He only projects for 21 fantasy points, but he's 4,200.
Yeah, the main issue is that we need to just see him get some of those minutes. Russell Westbrook and this starting unit, everything's been going so well for Denver relative to the beginning of the season that I don't think they really want to rock the boat. And Aaron Gordon.
Well, he's still going to close, wouldn't you suspect?
Yeah, but my thing is with Russell Westbrook playing as many minutes as he is, it's just less fantasy goodness for other guys to encapsulate. Like Aaron Gordon went 6 for 7 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3 last game. He put up 24 and a half fantasy points at 4,400. Like he still didn't put up anything you would want remotely close to your lineups. And I think that's like as much as you can ask for from Aaron Gordon.
I guess it's more, well, okay, I guess it's more like at some point he will be playing more minutes, in my opinion. Like I get what you're saying about rocking the boat, but he is a core piece of their supposed championship core. I think both him and Westbrook are closing. We haven't seen them in a competitive game in a while, but I think it's Murray, Jokic, Porter, Westbrook, Gordon. So
yeah, I mean, I call Aaron Gordon. I'm curious what Josh, I'm curious what Greg think coming up after this over on Playback, but I would call Aaron Gordon their second best player still, and he's playing 22 minutes a night right now coming back from injury. Like Aaron Gordon is a huge piece of anything they want to do if they want to win a title, because his defense, you need on the floor, you want on the floor. And from a DFS perspective, I think he's still interesting, but not yet. Like we got to find a minute ceiling. Like he's not going to be the guy who gets you there. Again, he shot the ball.
I agree. It's not the slate for it. It's not the slate for it.
Yeah.
I'll say this, man. It's hard to call him. Like, I get what you're saying about their second best player, and I don't think Murray is some like superstar, but man, it seems like they can only really win a title, like get deep in the playoffs if Murray is playing like if Murray's like the second is to like the Robin to Jokic. Doesn't matter what Aaron Gordon does if Murray's not like that dynamic scoring guard, in my opinion. They need Gordon to win it all, but it's not even a question if they're not getting Murray at his best, is what I think at least.
That's a fact. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, Murray, Gordon, those are two pieces that definitely are extremely important to Denver here going forward. But yeah, not the slate, I think, for Aaron Gordon. Not going to be somebody that I would even remotely consider, just considering Russell Westbrook, more minutes, less opportunity for other pieces in that lineup. But guys, we have reached 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is time for Playback. We got Josh, we got Greg. They're already over there. I just stopped over to see them. Hello, gentlemen. Great to have them here. They're going to take over from now. So jump into the link that is getting thrown into YouTube chat, or go to the link below in the video description box. He's Matt Belman. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, I had to turn my camera on to see these two fine gentlemen before I left. So that's all I got, man. Good luck to everyone watching.
All right. Stay by your computers. Get ready to late swap and get ready for the Playback show starting now. Thank you, Jordan Klein.